We're going to talk about some other things that you can do to boost your morning cortisol in a meaningful way. However, before I do that, I have to say that this viewing morning sunlight thing, or bright light from a 10,000 lux artificial source, the increase in cortisol that it provides, and therefore the increase in energy and mood and focus, etc., is very significant. It's been shown to quickly increase cortisol levels by up to 50%, 50%. And in fact, it's clinically significant. People who live in areas of the world where during winter there's very little availability of sunlight and just rely on artificial indoor lights often suffer from what's called seasonal affective disorder. The protocol I just described is exactly the same protocol that they have used successfully to offset seasonal depression. Now, I realize that most of you listening to this don't live in areas of the world too close to the poles, so no doubt you get more sunlight available to you during the winter than you do if you were to, say, live in Scandinavia or down at the South Pole. However, these days, most people are not taking advantage of those early hours of the day to get outside and get bright light from sunlight or from a 10,000 lux artificial source. In fact, most people just look at their phone or flip on a few indoor artificial lights, and that is not going to be sufficient to boost your cortisol levels the way you need to in order to achieve the kind of elevation in mood, focus, and alertness, and that can offset things like not just seasonal depression, but mild depression, malaise, lack of daytime energy, and on and on. So this thing about viewing bright light early in the morning, it's a real thing from the standpoint of the mechanism is understood, the ideal timing is understood, the magnitude of the impact on cortisol is very significant. These are big effects, and it's clinically significant with respect to mood, meaning you're going to feel more energized, you're going to feel better. Okay, so now that you understand that getting your cortisol high upon waking is the right thing to do, this is what you want. Let's talk about some of the other things you can do besides viewing bright light in order to increase your morning cortisol. But keep in the back of your mind that viewing bright light is the foundation. Okay, so you wake up in the morning and as quickly as you can, you get bright light into your eyes. What else should you do to boost your cortisol? Well, there are a number of things that you can do and that you should do every single day. Most of them are pretty easy and many of them can be combined. One of those is hydration. Now, of all the protocols in the realm of mental health, physical health, and performance, I think the most underrated one, believe it or not, is hydration. When you look at the literature on hydration and the effects of even mild dehydration, what you find is that cognitive function, physical function, basically cellular function and organ function generally, all suffer when you're even mildly dehydrated. So it's very important that you hydrate first thing in the morning. For me, that's 16 to 32 ounces of water with some electrolytes in it. For you, it might just be water, whatever. The interesting thing is that one of the major effects of proper hydration is to increase levels of alertness, and the way it does it is by acting on the adrenals, both epinephrine, adrenaline, and cortisol release. And we're not talking about big spikes in cortisol related to drinking water. We're talking about modest increases in the levels of pulsatile, as it's called, release of cortisol due to hydration. So hydrating first thing in the morning, also a terrific idea. You can do this while you get your bright light outside or while you get your bright light from a 10,000 lux artificial source. Hydrate first thing in the morning. It's going to increase your levels of energy then and throughout the morning and into the afternoon. Again, highly underrated protocol, in part because it takes a lot of dehydration before we realize that we're dehydrated. When you wake up in the morning, you use the restroom, you're probably mildly dehydrated. Get yourself hydrated first thing in the morning. Your cortisol levels will thank you. Your levels of energy will thank you.